What I would like to do is an exercise regarding Bhakti with a cup of tea. Very, very simple, because I want to show you how Bhakti takes any form of attraction and moves it to another level. Because this was one of the questions that came up. How does that work? Okay, how does it work? And Bhakti is one of the key yogas. And yoga just means harnessing energy. That's all it means. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit root that means to yoke. To yoke. And what you're yoking is you're harnessing energy. So the whole yoga tradition, all the yogas, is about harnessing energy and bringing it in and bringing it through. So it's not all doing positions, asanas, whatever. It's mental yoking. It's yoking with the heart. And Bhakti's like a yoking with the heart, harnessing energy with the heart. Okay, so you picked a type of tea. You picked a flavor of tea. Okay, so just to begin by tasting it and letting it come into your body. Okay, so just feel that energy. And be aware of why you were attracted to that particular flavor, that particular type of tea in this moment. Why did you choose that and not some other? And now that we have this cup of tea, and now that we're looking at this cup of tea and experiencing its qualities, pay attention to the tea leaves in this cup that you're holding. Where did this tea come from? And this is something to answer anybody. Where did the tea come from? What do you think? I'm talking about the tea leaves.
India.
What kind of tea do you have?
Black.
Black tea from India. Where did it come from in India? Do you have any idea?
No.
So let's pretend like it came out of a field, that it was growing in a field of tea in India. What other kind of tea do you have?
Green.
Green tea. Where do you think it came from?
I have no idea. It's organic from the source.
It came from the source. Aha! Organic green tea from the source. What other kinds of tea do we have?
Lemon ginger.
Lemon ginger. Okay, where do you think that came from?
Could come from anywhere. Lemon trees and ginger plants put together.
So it came from a lemon orchard, probably, and from
The ginger added in.
probably from a ginger farm and a lemon orchard, right? What other kind of tea do you have?
Chamomile.
Where does that come from? Chamomile. Flowers. Chamomile will make them sleep. So, and they have different qualities, right? So chamomile it comes from the flowers, the chamomile flowers, and it has the properties that are relaxing. What about lemon ginger? So what does that do?
Healing. Digestion.
Healing, digestion. Yeah. And what about green tea? What kind of properties what does it do for you?
Well, it has antioxidants in it, and it's also caffeine.
Antioxidants and caffeine, and with a lot of preventive qualities to it. And what about black tea? What does that do for you?
Invigorating awareness.
Invigorating awareness. Okay, great. Okay, what other kinds of tea do people have?
Peppermint herbal.
Peppermint Did I hear peppermint and herbal? Oh, peppermint herbal tea. Okay, so where does that come from?
The peppermint plants, herbs.
Herbs, yeah.
Doesn't come from candy canes?
Oh, that one comes from candy canes. Okay, candy canes. Okay, and what does that do in your body, or why did you choose it? Peppermint,
Soothing.
soothing,
Digestion, too.
and digestion. Okay, great. Any other kinds of tea? Do people get any other kinds of tea?
Try.
Oh, vanilla chai? Okay. Chai. Now that's mysterious. Okay, what about vanilla? Where does that come from?
Vanilla bean.
Vanilla beans. Okay, and those are cool. And what about the chai?
Jamaica.
You don't have to answer that question. I mean, because chai is a mysterious combination of ingredients, and people have their own recipes for chai, right? So they're going to have it a little bit spicier, a little less spicier, or whatever, But chai, but it does come out of the fields, basically, right? Same thing. And what was that tea over here?
This is chamomile.
Oh, and another chamomile.
Peach passion.
Peach passion. Okay, peach passion. So it comes from the peach orchards, right?
Yeah.
All over the world. And what was yours, Jan?
Chamomile.
And chamomile. Okay, yeah, chamomile. Do we get all our teas? Okay. So basically, when we're drinking this cup of tea, it's got ingredients in it that come out of all these different fields, orchards, farms, all over the world. Okay, so what do those orchards and farms need in order to grow that substance that's in that tea? What goes into that? Just think about it. Definitely tender, loving care to grow the tea. What else goes into it? Just think about it. What was that?
All four elements.
All 4 elements. Okay, what are those 4 elements?
Water,
Water,
air, in the form of whatever they breathe.
air,
Sunlight,
sun, fire,
and then the earth, the ground.
and then the earth, the ground,
Fertilizer in the ground.
and the fertilizer. Okay, so, and everything's got to be in the proper proportions for that to work. Okay, so, now let's cut to the water in the cup. Where does that come from?
Faucet.
From the faucet. Very good. It comes from the faucet. Okay, so think back. We're going to start with the faucet, and then we're going to think back. So where does that water coming out of the faucet come from?
The streams,
The sky.
The air, right?
The streams, the
circulating,
sky, the air, right, it's all circulating. The aquifer into the water holding tanks and reservoirs, but it comes out of the earth. And earlier, maybe it came to the earth in the form of an asteroid or something like that. We don't know, but this is the water planet. Water is the most abundant substance on earth, and of course we are made of water. We're just walking bags of water, and now we're drinking a cup of water, and it's going to nourish us in some way. We're taking in this substance of our earth. Okay, so when you're drinking, here's my point. What do you think my point is? What do you think I'm trying to get at with this little cup of tea?
That everything's all related. There's nothing you separate out the pieces, but it all comes from the same source.
Well, like and like attraction, when they're close enough, they bind.
Okay, in what way with regard to the
Well, I'm
tea?
just thinking about the electrons. That usually the opposites attract, if they're really, really close, then they bind. On a real small level. So you're absorbing. It's not out here. Actually, it becomes you. It's becoming you.
It is becoming you. This tea is becoming you. That is true. It's becoming part of you. And what are you really drinking when you're drinking this tea?
Yourself.
Wow.
Oh, wow, you're drinking yourself when you're drinking this tea. Who are you, Christine? Who is yourself?
I'm part of the circle.
Part of the circle, all right? And the circle is the circle of what?
Life.
The circle of life. So this tea, we can drink this tea, and you see how we can move through this tea into the whole of the cosmos. So you pick your tea, you pick your flavor, you sip this tea, and if you love this tea, we're going to imagine that you love this tea. So you see, by loving this tea, if you really understand what it is you're doing and pay attention to what you're doing, I include me, if I understand what I am doing, if I'm aware, if I'm paying attention, if I'm listening, and if I'm engaged, what I can realize from this cup of tea is that I am drinking in the whole of the cosmos. I am taking in the whole of the cosmos. It took everything to bring this forward. You know, not to mention all the stages in between. We're just talking about where it came from initially, maybe the tea field, not even to mention all the stages in between getting it from there to here, which is vast and elaborate. So this is, if we begin to look at our lives with this kind of awareness, we start to realize how alive everything is. And this is another aspect of bhakti. Because you could use an example of, I just decided to use tea because it's here. But how about chocolate? Same thing. Where does it come from? What are you really eating when you eat a piece of chocolate? What are you engaging in? So this is our work to come alive to the beauty and the macrocosm in terms of what is going on here in the microcosm, to be aware of the big picture. And that's what bhakti is. It's moving through, moving through, moving through, and continuing to move through to an ever larger picture. So the idea is, and this is the example that's used in all the bhakti readings, really, all the different books on bhakti, all the different teachings on bhakti. If you are in love with one individual in the world, therein is your love of the cosmos. One person, one animal, even one cup of tea. Therein is your love of the universe.
Do you find, I find when I've been thinking about that kind of thing, looking at my dog, and thinking that, looking at people and thinking that, it becomes almost overwhelming. The heart opening is it becomes this place of what I call compassion, because you can feel all the sorrow in it too, as well as all the love. So it becomes like I do that in the practice of the meditation, and then it's this like, whoa, it's. I can imagine that you can expand over time, but it feels like there's a certain amount of expansion available at one time.
Right. It's hard to take it all in at one time, you know. So as Kathy's saying, yeah, the heart opening, the heart breaks open into love.
Well, and also what she's talking about is that when, I think, like what I just got from what you said is, as we're opening to love, we're also opening to loss of love, the trials of love, it's like you don't get the love without the whole.
Well, and then also, exactly, that, and also opening to see, I mean, it's the sheer beauty of it. So much beauty is overwhelming, so much, yeah, just feelings of all, you know, everybody going through their trials on this earth. You know, you start to take, because you feel the love, when you feel that much love, then you're right, then you can feel all the pain too.
But that's also what I was saying earlier, like, if we're recognizing that the trials on the planet are part of the love of evolving the soul further up. I just got this, like, I can manage the trials if I know that it's an evolution and that it looks bad here in this moment, but if we know that all is love, the trials and the
But for me, that's not, that's
up
what I
here,
do
yeah.
here.
Uh-huh.
But when I open here, it's more for me, because I have that too.
Right.
And I try to explain that to some people, and they don't get that at all. That there is, I can see. I guess another way of saying is I can see why we stay close and contract, because it is so powerful and so overwhelming to open.
Yes, so powerful and overwhelming to open. So do you see how you can fall in love with a cup of tea through the appreciation of what this really is? And it's like falling in love. It's appreciation. It's reverence for what has happened. How could a cup of tea bring you to tears? Do you know what I mean? And then if you get into more teachings from the cup of tea, how about the Japanese tea ceremonies, which is all about appreciation for the whole of it. The whole of life is contained in that Japanese tea ceremony. Or what about the Buddhist teaching, where the cup is set on the table and the teacher comes and pours the tea into the cup and keeps pouring it and pouring it and pouring it until it's flooding all over the room, until the pot is empty. Okay, and that is a metaphor for if your cup is full, you can't take any more in.
So that would be that good.
Right, so, okay, so what do we need to do? We need to empty out our cup so that we are capable of receiving even more. So maybe the overwhelm is if our cup is so full, we can't take any more in. So is there a way, this is just theoretical, but is there a way that we can keep the flow moving inside of ourselves so that we're able to keep taking in, but at the same time releasing? Take in and release, take in and release. And it changes the definition of the idea of is the cup half empty or the cup half full. You know, half empty's good. Half empty's good because you got room. You know, there's room to take in more. There's room to experience more. You know, and to be vulnerable and to be open, because falling in love is the most vulnerable you can ever be. Maybe it's the most excited you could ever be, but it's also the most vulnerable you could ever be and open. Yes, Miss Pamela.
So, for me, as I stood at the counter of the universe at Pete's and I had my intention, I emptied out every time I felt myself fall short. But
What does that mean? As I felt myself fall short.
as I was irritated,
Okay.
as I judged them,
Okay.
as I did anything other than meet them with the level of love and attention and care that I had set my intention for. So when I fell short of that, I feel it. I mean, I know exactly when I've stepped away from it. And at that point, I felt like I emptied out, but it was the returning to that allowed me. So it was actually the Dharma. It was actually intention, action. And so one action could fill me, one action emptied me, but it was the same action. I was still, and from the outside, it's the same action. Good morning, how may I help you? You know, and complete the sale and move along. Invisible to you, not invisible to me inside. So there were times I felt empty. That's why that woman's note felt so powerful to me, was because I often felt myself fall short. And at least for me, that's how I deepen. That's how I, the cup on the potter's wheel, that's how I would deepen was through the Dharma, through the practice. And in essence, falling short, not the times when I made it. There I'm with my tribe. There I'm doing good. You know, I can pat myself on the back. I don't know, maybe that's not what you mean.
Well, I think it's all part of it. How do we know? I mean, because I think what happens is each one of us needs to become alive and aware and in tune and in touch with our own experience. So we could sit here, if we had more time, we could sit here going back to the tea and we could write a love poem to the tea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tea. Oh, tea, oh, how I appreciate thee from the fields, under the sun, with the what, you know, we could do this thing. Okay, now, so what happens with Bhakti is it moves a lot to the human scale, human to human, and out of the T scale. So what happens in the human scale is the dropping into the bhakti through appreciation of another human being and exalting another human being. Well, eventually what happens is we realize that this human being contains the whole of the universe, in the same way the cup of tea contains the whole of the universe. The cup of tea contains Brahman, the everything, the all, the cosmos. The human contains the everything, the all, the cosmos, which is referred to as Brahman in Hinduism. Brahman is everything, is the whole of the universe and the universal forces. So I mentioned this book last time, but I'm going to mention again The Interior Landscape, Love Poems from a Classic Tamil Anthology by Ramanujan. Okay, this book, all of the poetry in this book was written in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, and it's all poetry to the beloved, and with the knowledge that the beloved contains Brahman, the cosmos. That knowledge exists throughout. It's called Bhakti poetry. And it was a movement, a big movement in India in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Okay, I just opened one. I don't know what this is, but they're all like this. So let's see if this fits. Where the white waters from the peak crash through the mountain caves, it flowers on the slopes. And there, the little hill town chieftain has a younger daughter, a girl with great arms, and she is tender as water. Fancy her quelling my fire. Okay, but it's a poem to the divine through the girl. Okay, so I want to mention this because I got a lot of questions coming in about the Song of Songs. Okay, so this became a movement, this poetry exalting the lover as the Holy One, both immanent and transcendent. So immanent means in that physical body as that young girl, and transcendent means as the divine that exists in all around, outside and all around, transcending that young girl. So it's both immanent in the young girl and it is transcendent. So it moves into this tradition of poetry that we see coming through. Okay, Mirabai was a major Bhakti poet, and so Mirabai she's writing to Krishna, her divine love, but Krishna as a man. Okay, so she writes, just an example. Come to my bedroom. I've scattered fresh buds on the couch, perfumed my body, birth after birth. I am your servant. Sleep only with you. Mira's Lord does not perish. One glimpse of the Dark One is all she requests. She calls him the Dark One. Krishna's the Dark One because he's blue. He usually appears as blue Krishna. So she calls him the Dark One. Okay, come to my bedroom. Okay, all of these poems are like this. She's calling in the Holy One. Or Women in Praise of the Sacred. We're going to go even further into this when we go into more into women's spirituality. But 43 centuries of spiritual poetry by women. This is by Jane Hirschfield, who put this together. Jane Hirschfield, I just adore her. So I just opened to this one last night. I just opened to these. Now, I think the hallmark of a great book is you just open it, and then it's right there. Okay, so she says, I cannot dance, O Lord, unless you lead me. If you wish me to leap joyfully, let me see you dance and sing. Let me see you dance and sing. Then I will leap into love, and from love into knowledge, and from knowledge into the harvest, that sweetest fruit beyond human sense. There I will stay with you, whirling. That was from Mechtild of Magdeburg, around 1207-ish. Okay, and then Rumi, the capital love of all. And I opened this book last night, in preparation for this class, and the first thing that I looked at was how we fall in love on the battlefield in a state of war. I mean, and here I was dealing with the Bhagavad Gita, and I thought, wow, I don't remember Rumi ever writing that. And there it was. And then I opened to another one. I am filled with you, skin, blood, bone, brain, and soul. There's no room for lack of trust or trust. Nothing in this existence but that existence. Very mysterious. Just love. Great Bhakti poetry. And all to the beloved in all the different layers of whatever love means.
I was just going to say, both of those, well, Rumi, that's Coleman Barks, right? Is that his translations? Okay.
Yes, that's Coleman Barks.
Bhakti, love. He took the instructions from Robert Bly. Robert Bly said, these poems need to be set free from their cage. It is your task of tasks. Handed him and said, the job is yours. And Jane Hirschfield, again, Bhakti, of course you can tell an association with Robert Bly here. So 2004, on a panel with her and Robert Bly, I think it was, but anyway, so the Buddhist in her spiritual life, and she turned to Robert and she said, I made a promise to myself that whatever Robert asked of me, I would do. And she said, Robert, please don't take advantage of that. But again, both pieces that you picked up, these are both people that are capable of great bhakti and that great bhakti in current time.
And I just opened that to the page. That's what came. Those were the first ones that came. Aside from the one about war that Rumi wrote, which is perfectly pertinent to the Bhagavad Gita, but I wanted to just continue our discussion of bhakti just a little bit. The idea is moving inside of this energy and being able to exalt the beloved. The beloved is all the different layers and pieces of the cosmos, the divine, both, again, immanent and transcendent. So immanent is all of us sitting here, and transcendent is everything that's beyond, that surrounds the enveloping cosmos. That's the transcendent. So that they, as they say, God is both immanent and transcendent. And so through exalting the immanent, we wind up exalting the transcendent. Like with the cup of tea, where the immanent is this tea bag, these tea leaves, but we move through it into the entire cosmos. So you see how that works. So that becomes our practice. This is the essence of the path of devotion, known by the name the path of devotion, that goes through all different traditions, the path of devotion. But bhakti is very strong in this, so that's why we're starting with bhakti. What then, and this is our issue, what then are some of the implications of this practice for ourselves and our species. What happens when we move into the state of mind of reverence, which is different than many of the forms and the states of mind we witness around ourselves. So this is a practice, because, and I'm pointing to my head here, like this is a practice because we have to remember, keep remembering to return, remembering to return, remembering to return to our higher values. And I suppose what I'm doing is, in a certain sense, I'm asking you to consider this higher value and the ramifications of that if you so choose to bring that into your consciousness. How does it wind up impacting your life? Moment by moment by moment. So I challenge you to move into that as your spiritual practice, or part of your spiritual practice, going from everything to eating that Godiva chocolate to falling in love with another human being, to your stance on immigration, and just imagining how it impacts you. So I'm going to stop right there.
Yeah, just coming in my mind, you know that song, I Am Remembering? I am remembering who I am. You know that song? I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. So we do this half to I am, and do this.